Um, I was kind of a meathead junior when I was a little bit younger. Not as much in my later junior years, but like I was just like any kid. You don't know how to handle pressure. You don't know why you feel the way you do. And a lot of times when my parents would come travel with me, I wouldn't let them watch me play. If we play one bad round and it's like, oh, no, you can't watch me anymore, because that's the reason why I played bad, right? I mean, you're so irrational as a kid. And so I look back at those days and it's just like, wait, you're such an idiot.
Quick note for our viewers, this is a special 2-part episode with Dillon Batsel. We just had so much to talk about that we thought it was best to split this into 2 distinct parts. Enjoy part 1 and listen to Dillon's passion for the game.
All right. Welcome to the follow through. I'm Corey Saddlemeyer, I guess the host for tonight. As always, joined by Troy Bartman and Sheldon Moser, who just raced in here from Harvestville. No,
I was city.
You're city
kid today.
Okay, it all worked out.
Yeah, they had a rain shower go through yesterday, so
that worked out in our favor.
Our
guest today is Dillon Batsel. Dillon is I'm gonna run through your resume here, Dillon. Mm-hmm. An instructor at the Minnesota College, in the business faculty.
Yep.
Do you still coach the golf team there?
Yep.
Still coach the golf team.
Yep.
Work as an assistant golf pro in the summer at Desert Blume.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of the go-to teaching pro for a whole bunch of people in the community. Mm-hmm. You were on the tee today, giving lots of lessons. There may be some people on this table who've benefited from your wisdom.
Fair enough.
He's hitting it. That actually has to be a whole topic. He is like hitting it way further now.
Okay.
Who's that?
Wasn't it you? Didn't you take a lesson from
I haven't given Moses a lesson.
I've got that all mixed up.
No. Yeah.
Moses just naturally longer.
Well,
Yeah.
I watched Dillon one time and I just like, oh, I can see something.
Well, Moses self-taught.
I'm currently in the market for a swing coach. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're a multi-time winner of the Alberta Assistance Order of Merit.
Mm-hmm.
You're Player of the Year in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, you shot 58 last week in men's night, a par 72 course, and you had a bogey. So we got a lot. We got a lot of ground to cover here tonight.
Fair enough.
You are our first technical outsider, and I guess by outside of our golf group, we've been using them as the guinea pigs for this whole thing. So, just glad that you could join us tonight.
I'm honored. Looking forward to talking shop with you guys. I could talk about golf all day, so I love coming on and shooting the breeze about the game. Best game in the world. So, yeah.
All right. Did you when I first asked you, did you think this was like even real?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
A couple of smart guys getting together and share. That's the kind of podcast I like listening to. So
right.
Not surprised at all.
All right, we're going to set the bar high for this one.
Yeah.
This is like the super intelligent one.
Yeah, perfect. That's what I like. But no, it's funny because I tried not to be on social media too much. And then I saw the follow through pod followed me, but I didn't know who it was. So I didn't have time to kind of look through it a little bit more.
It's quite extensive.
Yeah, I know. And so I didn't know. But then when you guys told me it was you, I'm like, oh. And so I went right back to it because as soon as you said you guys were the follow through pod, I remembered seeing that in my Instagram mentions, and so I went back and followed it right away. So
all right. Yeah, I saw it was only a couple hours after.
Yeah,
you were on the ball.
Where is that course, by the way, in your first post? Because I thought it was DB initially, but it's not. But it looks.
Oh, I think it's Bandon.
Gorgeous. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just a good golden hour golf picture.
Oh,
it was good.
It was the golden hour.
Yeah.
All right, Bart, you are ready to go.
No, I just can't. I don't want to keep touching my screen here, and I have to hold it far away from my face to see. I just wanted. I don't know if we want to start here. I was wanting to go back a ways, Dillon, before we talk about everything last month or two of golf. But just thinking back on some of your earliest memories in golf, and like where or when do you remember saying like I'm pretty good at this, and I really want to get good at this, or I want to get better at this, and like was it a moment? Did it grow slowly? Did it happen quickly for you? Like what do you remember about where you got the golf bite in you?
I am naturally a very competitive person. The people that know me would probably say it's almost to a fault in a lot of areas of my life, but I've always have been. I don't know why. I think about it all the time. You know, I'm the oldest. I'm not even the youngest in my family. I don't know. I don't know if it's just because I've always been shorter, you know, and then trying to, you know, just having that a little bit of that kind of short mentality of, you know, having to beat people because, you know, people are taller than me. I don't know what it is. I think about it all the time, but I just am very competitive. And so when my parents put me into golf camps at Connaught when I was, I think 9 when I started, I think the game naturally came, you know, as naturally as it can come at 9 years old. But like, you know, when I teach golf camps now, there's some kids that you don't tell them anything. You tee the ball up and they can just hit it down the middle. And then there's other kids that just, it takes a little bit longer. It doesn't mean that they can't be good. It's just they're going to have to work a lot harder. So I think the fact that it came fairly easy to me, I still worked very hard at it, but I got fairly good at that age quickly. And then I had some success early on in my first tournaments when I was 12. But yeah, I think all the sports that I played growing up, I think it all helped. You know, the hand-eye coordination, the ability to have fast twitch muscles, the ability to rotate through all the other sports that I played. Golf came very easy to me. And I think I'm a big believer that, you know, the things that you're good at, you naturally will tell yourself that you like it. You know, and just out of the good group of friends that I had, I was one of the better players, and I think I just enjoyed that, and then it just stuck with it.
You like being better than everybody.
I do. When it comes to certain things in life, it does make me happy. And
it sounds like everything.
And I don't want to sound like that, but I do. It does. You know, beating like my best friend, and it's funny. I'll probably talk about this a little bit more, but I really attribute to why I got good at golf as the group that we had growing up. You know, you look at our members at DB. Everyone was a Connaught member when we were 10 years old. So Ryan, Tuna, Curtis, Mike, like everyone. And like, imagine that group. How do you not like playing? We meet up at the course every day, you know, and it's just, you know, flight or flight and who's going to be the best golfer in the day. And it incentivizes you to get out there and practice and win the chip and putts against your friends. And, you know, if we don't have that group, I don't know if I turn out to be a good golfer. Like it's simply, that's the case. And even with Ryan, I grew up hating Ryan because he was better than me growing up. And he was the hotshot golfer in town. You know, at 12 years old, he just was way further along than I was. And he was doing well in tournaments. He was already traveling for tournaments. And he grew up as a Redcliffe kid, and I just hated him. And even when we played against each other, and we talk about it all the time, but just wanting to be better than him. And that literally would take me to the course every day in practice. And I still remember when we started to be more equal and it was just very satisfying to me. And so even to this day, I cheer for him as much as anybody, but I love beating my friends. I love beating Mike, and even, you know, shooting 58 because Mike's been playing so good this year. He shot 61 from the tip, so he beat Mike Black's course record. He did it with me, and he shot 62 like 3 other times this summer, and it just like that just doesn't sit with me. And so I have to try to one up him. I have to, and whether it's this year or next year, that's how my brain operates. And it's not like, you know, people think of that like, oh, you can't be. I'm very happy for Mike. When Ryan eventually wins the Mid-Am, when Mike wins the Mid-Am, I'll be the first guy there to celebrate them. And I love that. But I'll be also the first guy that tries to next week beat both of them. And I'll be very aware of where they are. And I will be, you know, that's kind of what makes me tick. And so, yeah, some people look at that as a flaw, but that's just how I operate, unfortunately.
So do you think, if your mom and dad watch this, where's the athletic talent in the family come from mom or dad?
I don't usually hand out a whole lot of compliments to my parents, but they're both very good athletes. Yeah. And my dad's a great athlete. My mom's a phenomenal athlete, especially for how little she has put into it. But they're both really good athletes. Like they started playing golf both when they're in their mid-30s after they had kids. And my mom's won the club champ at Connaught, and my dad just should have lost to Warren Nam in a playoff.
I saw that, yeah.
I mean, it's just, you don't see that kind of progression after the age of 35. And so the fact that my mom's a single-digit handicap and my dad's a 4 handicap or a 3 now after the way he's been playing this year is just, you know, they're very good athletes. And then they're good at every sport that they've played. That's where, you know, my first introduction to like soccer and basketball and badminton, all that, they were good at all of those. And they kind of taught me the initial stuff. And then, you know, then I'd beat them really badly and I'd move on from there. But they're very good athletes. Very good.
Have they taken lessons from you?
My dad, it's funny. So my mom's game is really good. I wouldn't touch her swing too much because she has a very naturally good swing, but her short game's trash. And she just won't come. It's the easiest thing to fix as well, but she won't come. But then my dad finally sucked up his pride and he started coming to me this year. And I mean, I'm not saying that's why he's playing good, but I'd like to think that the things that we have done have helped him a little bit because he went from being kind of more of a maybe shoot high 70s if everything goes right to now it's like he's probably shooting in the 70s every single time he plays. Yeah. So, I mean,
yeah. Do you have a card?
Yeah, I do. I have an email. I don't do cards anymore. I should get some cards, but I had an email pretty accessible.
Sorry, and your sister was helping with the golf camp.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago too.
Yeah. No, Selena is same. She was a swimmer. She's a great athlete. Yeah. Probably just through me in golf, her and Jason probably both wanted to do their own thing. Yeah. And so her thing was swimming, and she went down to Delta State on a Div 2 swim scholarship. But her swing, once again, for the amount that she has put in, she has a really nice swing. So I don't know what, like even Jason, like has a pretty good swing for not ever playing. And like my parents didn't teach us anything. Like they brought us to golf camps. And then we did do like, maybe compared to other families, we would go to the course and go to the range or go play, but like not, like Jason plays probably 3 times a year. Yeah. Selena probably plays twice a year, maybe 3 times. So it's not like they play it all, but they have pretty nice swings given how little they've put into it. So if they wanted to, they probably could be half decent at golf too. So I don't know.
I was just thinking about like your mom and dad and following you. So not wanting to take instruction from you. And you've been doing okay in golf for a little while. And are they big cheerleaders, still competitors? Or like what when they see you shoot 58 or you won the junior?
Yeah.
All of the successes, are they super pumped? Do they have big celebrations for you? Are they just saying, "Oh yeah, good job, Dillon"? And what are we doing for supper?
No, they're very, very much cheerleaders. I was kind of a meathead junior when I was a little bit younger. Not as much in my later junior years, but like I was just like any kid. You don't know how to handle pressure. You don't know why you feel the way you do. And a lot of times when my parents would come travel with me, I wouldn't let them watch me play. If we play one bad round and it's like, oh no, you can't watch me anymore, because that's the reason why I played bad, right? I mean, you're so irrational as a kid. And so I look back at those days and it's just like, wait, you're such a, like, your parents are driving you around paying for these tournaments and you don't even let them come watch it. All they want to do is come watch you. They're so happy to watch you play something that you like, and you don't even have the mind that early to just realize that. But what I'm getting at is that now that I'm not a kid anymore and I realize that, my dad actually in the last 2 years, as work is kind of slowing down for him, he's making a point to come watch me play. So even yesterday in Calgary, he drove up at like 6 a.m. just to watch me, and it was pouring rain in Sirocco yesterday. Yeah. And he's done that multiple times. He drove up to Camrose for one day at the Open last year. They came to Mickelson National on the last day, both of them. And yeah, so that they are very, very big fans. And, whenever when the PGA of Alberta or the Alberta Junior, like I don't give them enough celebration. They'd probably want to celebrate for, a couple of days, but I just like, okay, we'll have a nice supper together. Then I got to work on to the next thing. Right. So, but no, they're very much cheerleaders and they have no problem, saying that to me. So it's nice.
Nice.
Yes, it is nice.
When you do these events, do you have a caddie?
So that's another funny thing. I haven't forever, just because, once again, this stems back to my dad. Like when he would come watch me play, it changed from me playing for myself to now I feel like I have to play good for somebody else. And that just, when you're younger, it adds an extra element of pressure, right? Just like when you're playing alternate shot. Why is alternate shot so much harder than regular golf? Because instead of just playing for yourself, you're worried about another person. And so it just adds an extra element of pressure. And so for me, whether it was Sierra caddying for me or my dad, whenever I had someone on the bag, I felt like I was playing for more than just myself, which, early in my, golfing, it just was maybe a little bit more pressure than I needed to play my best golf. But now I know how to deal with that a little bit better. And so just in Mickelson, one of my best friends, Nate Mortlock, wanted to come up to the tournament. And so I'm like, yeah, you can come up. And he's like, well, can I caddy for you? I'm like, well, we'll see. Like, but then I'm like, once again, like Dillon, he wants to come up. He wants to be a part of it. Just let him caddy for you. What's the worst to happen? You play bad, it's not going to be his fault, right? It's going to be your fault. So,
but easy to blame.
Exactly, easy to blame. And so he came up this year, and I'm like, no, you're coming up all the way with me. Like you want to caddy, you're going to caddy for me. And it went really well. Like he was awesome in the big. Nate's a great player. He's a 0 handicap at Desert Blume, and he, I struggle sometimes reading greens, and he's a good green reader. And Mickelson went well. Like I didn't play fantastic. I played good. Once again, I was in Greece for 2 weeks. It seems like every tournament I have a holiday right before, but I was in Greece for 2 weeks right before. So I just wasn't, I hit it good enough to win that tournament. And I just didn't have the wedges, chip, and putting to be at 13 under with the leader ended up being. But Nate was great on the bag. And so he actually came up to Calgary this week, and he's coming up. He's caddying for me the Alberta Open next week. He's caddying me for Alberta, PGA of Alberta in Edmonton, and he's coming to Vancouver in September. So he's all in for this month anyway. So, and if he's willing to do that, like I told him, you don't have to do that, but it's I haven't shot over par since he's been on the bag, so we'll keep that train running. So
does he have a card?
yeah, exactly. He definitely does.
He knows his collecting cards here.
Yeah, he's just starting his last couple of years. He's a realtor in town, so he definitely has a card. So yeah.
I actually funny story. I played with him one time. Just first time I met him, me and a friend got paired up with him. I don't even know who he had playing with him, but his friend had to leave. So he left, had to drive his friend home, and like missed like 2 holes and like hooked back up with he was having a really good round and he wanted to finish it up. So
yeah, but Nate's game is insane. If you ever get a chance to play with him, he would swing it as fast as anyone in town. Probably I'd say he'd swing it the fastest. Doesn't mean that he always hits it the farthest, because he needs to learn how to optimize the driver just a little bit better. He optimizes it very good, but he swings it pure club head speed faster than anyone. Whenever we screw around on the simulator, he's got up to 200 miles an hour ball speed.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Just a freak athlete, and yeah, it's fun to watch. So
when you bring up the sim, like how much has that added to your game? Because like that's play a lot, right?
Yeah, I think what it does, the biggest thing, I don't think I've utilized it as much as like a tour guy would, like in terms of dialing in yardages and all that. But in terms of like starting the year fresh, it's been unreal, right? Even if you swing it once a week throughout the winter. I remember when I was at Connaught and a junior golfer, it'd take me a month and a half to actually feel like my game was even remotely close to being good. And now, I mean, I think it was last year, the first round that I played, I shot 63. Like that would never have happened in a million years, like before a sim golf, because now obviously it's still different, but the fact that you're touching a club once a week and you're swinging and you can work on a few things, like there doesn't seem to be as big of a transition period, at least from a ball striking perspective. And so I've enjoyed that. And then, I mean, winters used to suck, and now that I don't play any organized team sports in the winter, I need something, I need a competitive outlet. And so even just getting to play against Trev and Bill once a week in our standing match, like that's something that I look forward to every week, and it just keeps the juices flowing. So,
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to go from kind of light talk to some dark just for a little bit. Dillon, you and I, a couple of years ago, ended up in the clubhouse it was the fall, I think, of a year, having a beer and talking about a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to get all of this out, and you can tear it apart how you want. But things like self-confidence and identity and self-worth and golf has a way of exposing all of those things right down to the bare bones.
For sure.
So for someone who has this public image as an accomplished golfer in our city, and not just our city, in lots of places around the province and even nationally, how do you maintain a level of confidence and worth when your game's just not there?
That's a very easy question for me. As long as I feel like I'm putting in the work, that's what gives me confidence. So whether it's going to the gym every day, whether it's practicing, when I'm coming down the stretch of a tournament, if I know I've put in the work, that gives me enough confidence to know I can get the job done. So if I'm not putting in the work, it's up in the air. If I go out and play good, sure, that can happen. Everyone can get lucky. But if I put in the work, to me, I don't feel like I have those confidence issues as much. It only comes if I'm trying to fake it. And by faking it, I mean by not actually putting in the amount of time deserving to win something like next week, the Alberta Open, right? And so, if I didn't do any practicing and I go tee it up at the Open, I might have a good first round, might have a good second round, but when it comes down to it on the last day, and you need to have that confidence, what do you fall back on? And for me, it's like I fall back on the fact that I'm looking at the guy across from me and I know I'm working harder than him. And so whether that's a weird way to look at it, but that gives me enough confidence to say I can beat this guy, and if I don't do that, it doesn't mean that I can't do it, but that's just maybe when doubt can creep into your mind, and then it just gets more challenging. So to me, it's very simple. It's just about putting in the work, and then just, I think you do have to be grounded elsewhere outside of golf. You have to have other things that are important in your life, because if all you do is your identity is by what you shoot on the course, it's not going to end well. It's not going to end well.
So you're sounding like someone who has made a lot of rational not decisions, but you've rationalized a lot of the things that you've just mentioned. And when did that happen? Didn't happen as a junior.
No, definitely didn't.
And so you have a collegiate career, and then you have an amateur career when you come back. Where did the I guess the clarity of all of that come from?
When I started playing really, really crappy in my third and fourth year of university. I went into university being a very non-technical player. There's video of my swing on YouTube when I tried to do a recruiting video, and it's a very different swing that I have now. Same body rotation, but very unique grip and setup. Very high hands because I played with clubs that were too long for me when I was younger, and a very strong grip because somebody told me to see three knuckles to play a draw when I was 12 years old. So, looking back now and you look at my grip or my setup now, it's very more relaxed hands and it's more of a neutral grip. But when I went to university, when I started struggling, when I was actually playing good, this is bad, maybe not the best coaching, but when I was playing good, he wanted to mold my swing into a more traditional and technically sound setup and swing, which now that you see all the guys on tour, guys like Butch Harmon, famous coaches, they talk about each person having their own idiosyncratic things that you don't touch. Right, you don't touch Dustin Johnson's bowed left wrist. You don't touch John Rahm's short swing. You don't touch, name any player.
To that.
Right, sorry, right. And so you don't, just because John Rahm only takes it back to here, you don't say, "Oh, take it back further." No, he's hitting the ball fine. Leave it alone. If you want to work on ball position or something else small. But if you start to ruin or mess with the things that make a golfer swing, that's when things can get a little. Not every time, but that's when things potentially can get a little awry, because maybe the way that I released the club was based on my high hands and my strong grip. And now that you're getting me to change that, you're screwing with my release pattern. And that can, if that changes in the middle of a tournament, which I played every tournament as a freshman, and you're trying to get me to change this in the middle of a season rather than the off season, that can potentially lead to, some bad things. And so when I look back at when I was struggling, I'm playing crappy golf, and it's like, who am I? Like, my whole life I've been a golfer. Everyone looks at me like, "Oh, what'd you shoot today?" Oh, and then it's like you kind of have an identity crisis. And then even after, my plan was to at least give pro golf a try, and I'm playing so bad my fourth year, it wasn't even remotely crossing my mind. And I wasn't going to be the guy chasing a dream that wasn't there at the time, right? And so I came back home and tried to figure out work. And then, I think things naturally start happening. You get a job, I get a girlfriend, and there's other things in life that you have responsibility to. And then all of a sudden, it's not just, Dillon's not just the golf guy, even if some people think that, but to me, it's like, I got other stuff that I'm doing now. I got responsibilities to students, I got responsibilities to faculty, I got responsibilities to Billy and Trev, and now all of a sudden golf actually takes a back seat. And that, that's when maybe you can actually start playing better, because, maybe some people work well when golf is like the only thing they think about, but I think in my own experience, and for most people that I talk to, that's not the case. Golf, you play your best golf when, you're obviously putting in the work, but it's not live or die, and that's why most guys don't make it on their own dollar. They make it on sponsorship dollars, right? There's probably a handful of guys in the history of golf that made it on their own dollar, because it's not a good scenario for anybody. And so for me, it happened more naturally just through struggle that you start, and then through natural life progression that, if I play bad golf today, yeah, it sucks. I'm still really angry, but, life goes on. I got to go to work the next day. I still got to come home and do everything I need to at home. And I still get to hang out with my girlfriend. Like life's going to be just fine, and I think that's helped me over these last few years. Just not that I take losing any better, but just understanding that it's not the end of the world if I have a bad round. And if I go out next week and I don't play my best at the Alberta Open, whatever. And then I'll tee it up next week at the Alberta PGA and I'll try to do better. But I just think for me, it's in it gets me in a much better headspace just to go out and play at least decent every time I tee it up. And I think over the last few years, even though I haven't won as much as I'd like, I look back and like I can't remember a tournament where I'm just like, that was horrendous. I have been, and that's something I have been proud of. I think in the last 3 years, I think I've shot like 2 over par rounds in tournaments, and that's like in 50 to 60 tournament rounds. And so that's something that, winning is definitely more important to me, but that type of consistency is something that I for myself, I value quite a bit. And eventually I'm going to figure this putter out, and we're going to translate some of those third place finishes into first place finishes. But
so that if you just pulled out the identity pieces and the confidence and the worth, those rolled off your tongue really easy, as if you'd said that a lot to a lot of people. Are those things you've said to yourself a lot, or are those things you've articulated to others as well?
No, I've been very, very thoughtful about I'm always very thoughtful about the things that happen to me. And so even if I don't say them out loud, those are things that I've thought about quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because I like to know why things happen. That's maybe the economist in me. I don't like to just say like, hey, that, playing good today, great. Why did you play good today? Or why am I playing better now, and why did I play so bad in university in the last 3-4 years, in third and fourth year? And I just like to try to figure out why those things happen, because I think a lot of the consistency that I have had over the last 3-4 years have attributed to I understand what's going on in my life and in my golf game now. So as long as I get a good warm up, if I am in the gym, I'm practicing the 2 or 3 things that I like to practice pretty regularly, then aside from something crazy happen, I'll play good golf. I might not win. I might not shoot 64 every time, but there's not going to be many times where I play too bad, right? Relative to my own game. And so I do attribute that to me thinking that I know what's at least going on in my life a little bit better, and then being in a better headspace too. So, but no, I've thought about those things quite a bit.
With the people you play with every day, would they know that about you, or they would just sense that about you?
I don't know if they would. Honestly, I don't know if anyone would know that about me.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe
when they watch the podcast.
Millions of people are going to know this.
I'm not a very. I don't talk about myself very often. That's something that people that are close to me know. But yeah, so I don't think I've ever said that out loud. So but it is stuff that I've thought about quite often. So.
And how has all of that impacted you on the teaching tee? Like when you're giving lessons now, how has that impacted your approach to giving instructions for people, or all of those pieces?
I do try to keep things very simple on the lesson tee. I have taught a lot of lessons over these last few years. So how I go about teaching and what I try to change is very selective. I still got a long ways to go on the teaching front. I want to get more holistic with it, more TPI, get more tech. That might be a few years away, but it's influenced me for sure. I haven't got many lessons in my life. A little bit with my university coach, and then when I was struggling, I went up to I got a lesson in TPC, and then I got a lesson in Calgary. But other than that, I've probably only had 3 lessons in my life, like formal lessons. But yeah, no, it definitely influences how I teach. Everything I've experienced in golf influences how I teach. But it's also tough because, what I experience, the average golfer is probably not going to experience. Right. So, you might be on slightly different wavelength there, but that doesn't mean some of the things that I've went through can't help someone. If I can twist it in the right way that makes sense to them, it doesn't mean that I can't find something that can help them too. But yes, I try to be as on the lesson sheet. I try to be as practical as possible, because I do listen to a lot of golf podcasts that I've learned a lot from. I do a lot of reading when it comes to the golf swing, and so I'd like to think that I have a decent idea of how I can help people. But,
well, and the amount of information that's out there now, and like you're talking about all the positions and all that. Yeah. How much have you brought some of that into your own game?
I do look on Instagram a lot, YouTube a lot about that stuff. It's more that stuff. It is learning for me, but it's more, I do like to give 1 or 2 drills at the end of every lesson to someone to work on. And I do get a lot of my ideas from social media. There's a lot of good information out there. I think it's just, for me, I can parse through it better just because of my background, whereas the average person might have a tougher time parsing through it. Yeah, exactly, right? And they end up coming to the course every second day trying something new, and that's not the way to go about it, right? Like there's like maybe 3 things in my whole life that I've worked on in my golf swing. And so, I'm not coming to the range and working on something different every day. I think the best way to get better at golf is if you do get the right help and you find the right thing to work on, at least work on it for a very prolonged period of time. And then if you master that, you can move on to something else. But yeah, bouncing, there's no, it's funny because I think the reason why people do that is because they think there is some sort of silver bullet that's just going to take them to the next level, when at the end of the day, unfortunately, the only thing that's going to take you to the next level is just putting in the time. Because I don't know anybody that's gotten good at this game without actually putting in a lot of time. Yeah. So even when I look at someone like a Wyatt Bishop, I got to see Wyatt start from barely being able to swing the club when I gave him his first lesson when we were all still at Connaught, to, obviously his dad buying the course and having a very good opportunity to be good at golf just with being able to go to the golf course every day. And he took advantage of that. And he hit thousands and thousands of golf balls. I watched it. And so he probably made as quick of a progression as I've ever seen someone make, from, being 16 and having a horrendous swing and now having a beautiful swing and being a very good accomplished golfer in his own right. So, what I'm trying to get is I don't think there's a shortcut, unfortunately. So,
well, yeah. I had a question about lessons, but mine wasn't necessarily about the technical parts.
Yeah.
It was, like we see you giving lessons all the time. I recommended, not Sheldon, he's
still searching for that silver bullet.
One of my colleagues I sent to you this winter, and they are men, women, beginners, accomplished players. And what I would see as someone who, Corey and I are in the education business, we've watched hundreds and hundreds of teachers or coaches, and it all looks the same in terms of your enthusiasm, your approach, whether it's the kid camps that are down there with 5-year-olds to the beginning golfer to the accomplished player. Like, is that real? Is that part of your getting into character to make sure you are, you're a real pro? It obviously looks like you're a real pro, not in the golf sense, but in the instruction sense. Did you know that looks the same regardless if it's a 5-year-old or an accomplished player?
I didn't, but I think that's just who I am. I am naturally a very charismatic, enthusiastic person. And I'm fortunate enough that I get to do things that I actually like doing, where, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that can't say that. So it's very easy for me to be enthusiastic because I actually like what I'm doing. And I know how important what I'm doing is to growing the game and like helping people like golf as much as, even a smidge as much as I do. So that's easy enough for me to get enthusiastic about, because when I see somebody, I think about it all the time. Like, it takes a lot for someone to be vulnerable enough to reach out to me, say, I want help with my golf game, right? And take the time out of their day and spend their money to come see me, to ask, for me to help them. And I don't take that lightly. And so I hope that, through, hopefully good instruction, that they start hitting better shots. And if they start hitting better shots, they have a much better chance of liking the game. Because I think golf's the greatest game that we have. And I just want as many people to like it as possible.
So you like golf?
I love golf. I literally think about golf all day, every day. Like, it's sickening. But I live for my next match. So we got a great match tomorrow morning. Me and we're here taking on Mike and Nolan. So that's me in a nutshell. I just can't wait to get on that first tee, send a couple chirps their way on the first tee, and then hopefully beat them by hole 16 and let them hear about it a little bit. And yeah, that's
Corey's. I'm going to get Corey to share a story about someone we know, and before your time at Connaught, Corey and I were Connaught members and heavily involved in junior golf. But there's a story of someone who loved golf more than anybody we'd ever seen. And you're going to tell the story. You know the story.
Well, we were playing in it was the club.
We called it an inter club.
Yeah. Right. So we went to High River. It was Henderson Lake, High River, Connaught, and Bears Paw.
Oh, trust me, that's where I got my first tournament experience.
Yeah, it was because it had that 12-year-old, 13, 14, right? And so our 12-year-old was Dale Vallely. And Matt.
Actually, I think he was 10 and we pulled him together.
And we had Matt Bruins and Cam Van Sant and Steve Taves. They were kind of they would have been the overall.
Josh
18,
Cornett
17.
was he in that too? Danny Kitching maybe.
Ryan Vallely. Yeah. Trent Englot.
Sean Miller.
Yeah. But we are, like Dale talked a lot, right? And we are driving in the van from wherever we had stayed in Calgary to go to High River. And Dale...
we were coming from Bears Paw because he left his clubs. That's how he got... You two got some alone time. Corey got some alone time with Dale.
Yeah.
Well, and he just would... It was like he was just talking to himself.
Yeah.
And he finally finished by... Man, I love golf.
Yeah. I know that feeling.
Yeah. So and that it was. I remember this well because Corey was really mad, and we each had a van of kids, and Bears Paw's on the north side of Calgary, and we are staying on the opposite side of the Calgary, and Dale, because he's so excited and he's the first group in and had his hamburger, mostly probably just fries. We've driven all the way across to get to our hotel, about an hour drive, and we go to unload the clubs. And Dale says, "Oh, I forgot my clubs in Bears Paw." And so Corey has to take Dale all the way across Calgary to Bears Paw and then drive back. So he's got like a 2-hour one-on-one with Dale, which is bliss or pain. And I remember Corey coming back and I'm going, "Oh, Corey, how was that?" And he goes, "Well, you're not going to believe it." And so he tells the story of Dale just recounting every shot, and at some point on the way back, he's like a 10-year-old kid, right? At some point on the 2-hour drive back, or 2-hour drive, he puts his head against the window and does that, and then falls asleep in the last few minutes of the trip.
That's funny.
Yeah. So you're not Dale, but you love golf like Dale loves.
Yeah. It's a good game. So,
well, you started on this, and the three of us have talked about this in many ways, but we want to know what your perfect day of golf looks like, smells like, tastes like, who you're with, where you're at, time of year. Yeah. What's your perfect day of golf?
Our friend group hasn't got into your guys's
You're not
style
old.
yet. No, not that. We haven't financially been able to make this commitment yet for a once-a-year trip, right? But once we start doing that, this answer might change. But right now, honestly, the perfect day of golf, I'm torn between whether I like playing in 40 degrees or whether I like playing in the morning, kind of like with a sweater on. I don't know which one I like more, because I'll play in the afternoon a bunch, when it's 35 degrees, and I'll love it. And I love the way my body feels when it's that hot. I love the way the ball flies. But then, like tomorrow morning, we're playing at 7:30. I'm going to really like that too. So I don't know time of day what it would be, but perfect day of golf would be a 36 day. We'd be getting up at 6. The guys, everyone, the foursome that I'd be playing with. And actually, ideally, it would be a Ryder Cup style thing. That would be my perfect day of golf. And so it would be something where, literally if we just had exactly like the Ryder Cup, like 8 versus 8, or maybe not that much, or 4 versus 4, whatever the game would be, but have something like that where in the morning we would play, whether it's alt shots or best ball, foursomes or 4-ball, and then the afternoon there's some single stuff. Like that would be awesome. And everyone would collect their points. We'd have a little bit of lunch, a little bit of drinking in between, and then lots of drinking after the last round. But that would be it. And then I don't know where it would be. It doesn't really matter to me. Like Bandon would be amazing. Going back to Jacksonville with my friends would be amazing. Going anywhere cool that we haven't been would be very, very fun. But that would be it. Getting up early, getting that first 18 in, having a big competition. So at the end, that could be, a trophy handed out or something, or some money exchanged. And then in the afternoon, a different format. Yeah, but a 36 day would be amazing. Yeah.
Shelton, do you remember what you said about your perfect day of golf?
I said 36.
36.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said early morning.
Yep.
And I said it'd be one of those days where it wasn't actually planned to be 36. It just rolled into 36.
That a spontaneous 36 would be when you're sitting upstairs after. Should we play another one? Actually, now that you say that, some of my more favorite days of golf in the last little bit have been when we play sometime. Usually we play a little bit later on the weekend, kind of like 12 to 1-ish. But playing that, having supper, and then if it's like we look outside and there's not a breath of wind, and then we play what we call as an E9, so an emergency 9, and we go out and we play like a 3v3 scramble and play like $50 a head, or some sort of scramble where you just, there's lots of fist bumps because somebody's making a putt, and so that's been really fun too. That would be a good iteration of my favorite day where we could go out and play an E9 for some little bit more money than we normally play with, and the fact that in a scramble there's going to be some fist bumps because somebody is making a putt. Yes, that would be a close 1B if 1A was the first thing that I said.
I think we had some evening golf answers in there too.
Yeah. Well, we used to do, ours was par 27. Growing up, we could, there used to be this really bad CBC.
Ernie Afghanis.
Terrible golf show on CBC on Saturdays. It was 9 holes at a Kananaskis. Actually, it was, have you heard of par 27? And so they'd pick this par 3 in Kananaskis, and there'd be a tee shot from one tee, and then it was
out of a bunker and then some kind of weird chip.
And so you'd hit 3 balls from each of those. It was televised, and there's little money on the line.
Yeah, it was kind of like a knockout tournament kind of thing.
Knockout tournament throughout the golf season. And and so you'd par 27, you had 3 balls from each of those places. So that was, Connaught was evenings, no one around, go find a hole and play par 27.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. We even tried that a long time.
I know.
Nobody
has a short game.
What time is it? We got time for an E9? We've never heard of E9 before.
That's what it's called. It's called an emergency 9. So you guys can start using that terminology now.
Yes. We have to get rid of some commitments.
Yeah.
So can we talk about the 58?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, folks, that's a wrap on part 1. We know it's a bit of a cliffhanger, but join us next week to hear the blow-by-blow of how Dillon shot 58.